How to create safe emotional space in your relationships. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt like your words just disappeared? Like no one really heard you, even though you were speaking clearly from the heart? Maybe it was with someone you love deeply, a spouse, a child, a lifelong friend, but still, something about the moment felt off. Your chest tightened, your stomach dropped, and suddenly, it felt safer to stay quiet than to keep trying. As we grow older, we often crave peace more than noise, and connection more than perfection. But here's the thing, peace doesn't mean silence, and connection doesn't mean always agreeing. What we truly long for is a sense of emotional safety. A space where we can be our full selves, messy, wise, vulnerable, silly, without fear of being dismissed, criticized, or misunderstood. Creating that space, especially in relationships that have weathered years or even decades, can feel like walking a tightrope. But it doesn't have to. It's not about getting everything right. It's about getting a few small things consistently right. The first thing that helps create emotional safety is presence. And not just being in the same room kind of presence. I mean the kind where your attention isn't scattered, where you're not half listening while folding laundry or thinking about your next doctor's appointment. It's that moment when you gently put down the remote, turn off the news, and just look at the other person, really look. It might feel a little foreign at first, especially if you've spent years living in the same space but miles apart emotionally. But presence says, I'm here. I see you. You matter. Sometimes, we think we're being present just because we're not interrupting. But true presence invites the other person to keep speaking. It doesn't rush to fix, correct, or respond. It holds space. You'd be surprised how healing it can be, just to feel listened to with full attention. It's one of the simplest yet most powerful gifts we can offer someone we care about. The second thing is tone. Not just the words we choose, but how they land. You know that saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That couldn't be more true when it comes to emotional safety. A gentle tone can turn even hard truths into invitations for closeness. But a sharp or sarcastic tone? That can shut down even the most open heart. It doesn't mean we have to tiptoe around people. It means we speak with care. We take a breath before reacting. We choose curiosity over assumption. If someone says something that stings, instead of snapping back, try this, can you help me understand what you meant by that? That one question can de-escalate a storm before it begins. Tone also shows up in the little moments, the sighs, the eye rolls, the muttering under our breath. These seem small, but they leave big marks over time. If we want to create safe space, we need to be mindful not only of what we say, but the emotional music we're playing in the background. Because people, especially those closest to us, hear that music loud and clear. Another powerful way to create safety is validation. Now, this doesn't mean we have to agree with everything someone says. It means we acknowledge their experience as real. Think about how many arguments you've had that could have been softened with just a few words like, I can see why that upset you, or that must have been hard for you. You're not saying, you're right and I'm wrong. You're saying, your feelings are valid, and I'm not here to fight them. When someone feels seen, heard, and understood, even in the middle of disagreement, something shifts. Defenses go down. Hearts open up. And suddenly, there's room for honesty, for forgiveness, for growth. These might sound like small things, presence, tone, validation, but in the landscape of relationships, they're like warm lights guiding us home. Especially now, when so many of us are navigating the loss of people, the weight of unspoken things, and the challenge of aging in a world that often feels louder and more divided than ever. But here's the good news, it's never too late to change the emotional climate of your relationships. You don't need a therapist's degree. You don't need to wait for others to change first. You just need a willing heart, a bit of patience, and the courage to show up differently. Because the truth is, everyone wants to feel safe. Even the people who act tough, who say they don't need anyone, who push others away. Underneath it all, we're wired to connect. And creating emotional space isn't just a gift to others, it's a gift to yourself, too. You'll find that when people feel safe around you, they open up more. They soften. They return that safety in kind. And slowly, relationships that once felt strained or hollow begin to breathe again. Let's keep going. There are more ways, simple, powerful ways, you can nurture safe emotional space, starting right where you are. One of the most overlooked ways we can build emotional safety is by simply allowing space for silence. Not the cold, awkward kind that creeps in during an argument, but the gentle kind, the kind that says, I'm here with you, even if we're not talking. You see, not every moment needs to be filled with advice, or stories, or solutions. Sometimes, just sitting with someone in quiet presence is more comforting than any words could be. Imagine sitting beside your partner or your closest friend, and instead of rushing to fill the air with opinions or instructions, you just let the silence hold the room for both of you. In that silence, emotions have time to settle. Wounds have a chance to breathe. You're saying, without saying it, I'm not going anywhere. We don't have to fix everything right now. This kind of silence can feel unfamiliar, especially if you were raised in a generation that valued stoicism or had to keep busy to stay strong. But emotional safety doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from having someone who won't leave the room when things get hard or quiet or confusing. Another beautiful way to create emotional space is through boundaries. Now, I know that word might bring up some tension for people. Boundaries sometimes sound like walls. But in truth, they're the exact opposite. Healthy boundaries actually invite closeness because they let others know how to love us well and how we will love them back. Think of boundaries like lines in a garden. They tell you where to step carefully, where to plant, and what to protect. When we don't set clear boundaries, we often end up feeling resentful, overwhelmed, or even invisible. We might say yes when we mean no, or pretend something is okay just to keep the peace. But over time, that peace becomes thin and brittle, and the relationship starts to feel unsafe, not because of what was said, but because of what was never said. Creating emotional space means having the courage to say, I need a moment, or that's not okay with me, or I love you, but I need some time to think. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of respect, for yourself and for the relationship. They're the very foundation of emotional honesty. And here's something powerful. When you start setting boundaries with kindness and clarity, people who truly care about you will adjust. They may not get it right away, and that's okay. You're not demanding perfection, you're inviting partnership. You're saying, let's build something safer together. And speaking of partnership, let's not forget the importance of repair. No relationship, no matter how loving or long-lasting, goes untouched by conflict. We all say things we don't mean. We all have moments where we shut down, lash out, or pull away. The key isn't to avoid conflict altogether, it's learning how to come back from it. Repair is about circling back when the dust settles and saying, I'm sorry I hurt you, or can we talk about what happened? It doesn't mean taking all the blame or minimizing your own hurt. It means taking responsibility for your peace and showing up to reconnect. That act of reaching back across the gap can be one of the most healing things in any relationship. It tells the other person, even when we fall apart, I still choose us. And that feeling, that someone is willing to keep choosing you even in the hard moments, that's where true emotional safety begins to bloom. None of this is easy, especially if we weren't taught how to do it. Maybe you grew up in a household where emotions were ignored, or where conflict meant yelling or silence. Maybe you've spent decades learning to keep the peace at all costs. But let me tell you something important. Just because something wasn't modeled for us doesn't mean we can't learn it now. It's never too late to become a safe place. Not only for others, but for yourself, too. There's something deeply empowering about learning to speak gently even when you're angry, to listen fully even when you're tired, to offer space even when you're scared someone might leave. These are acts of emotional generosity. And they don't require years of therapy or fancy words. They just require a willingness to stay open, even when it's uncomfortable. You might be surprised by how quickly things begin to shift once you practice these small acts consistently. A spouse who seemed distant may start leaning in. A child who always felt guarded might share a little more. A friendship that felt fragile might suddenly feel rooted again. What you're doing, in essence, is building trust. Not just in others, but in yourself. Trust that you can show up without losing yourself. Trust that your needs matter. Trust that love can be both strong and gentle at the same time. And with every small moment of presence, every kind tone, every honest boundary, you are creating a space where people feel safe to be themselves, where they don't have to hide, or perform, or walk on eggshells. And isn't that what we all want, in the end? A place to be fully known and still fully loved? Let's keep going. There's one more piece to this puzzle, and it's something that often gets forgotten, but it might be the most important part of all. The last piece of this puzzle is something so simple, yet so often neglected: appreciation. Not the kind that comes wrapped in big gestures or fancy gifts, but the quiet, everyday kind. The kind that notices. That remembers. That says, I see what you did, and it matters to me. We live in a world that's quick to point out what's wrong. We notice when someone forgets, when they mess up, when they fall short. But emotional safety is built just as much by what we choose to notice, like when your partner goes out of their way to bring you your favorite cup of tea, or when your grown-up child calls just to check in, even if they don't say much. Those little things, they deserve to be named. When someone hears, I appreciate you, or thank you for showing up even when it's hard, a softening happens. A door opens. Because appreciation isn't just about gratitude, it's about being seen. And feeling seen is one of the deepest human needs we carry, no matter how old we are. In long-term relationships, appreciation can easily slip away. We get used to each other. We stop saying thank you for the things we used to marvel at. But every time we bring that habit back, we're watering the roots of trust. We're saying, I don't take you for granted. And that message can be healing in ways we may never fully understand. Appreciation also works both ways. It's not just about appreciating them, it's about allowing ourselves to receive appreciation, too. Sometimes, we brush off compliments or kind words, as if we don't deserve them. Oh, it was nothing, we say. But imagine how it would feel to simply smile and say, thank you. That means a lot. That, too, is emotional safety. Giving and receiving, without fear or shame. And maybe, most importantly, creating a safe emotional space means extending that same safety inward. Talking to ourselves the way we would talk to someone we love. Being gentle with our own fears, our regrets, our aging bodies and changing minds. It means allowing ourselves to feel what we feel, without judgment. You see, we can't offer emotional safety to others if we're constantly at war with ourselves. If we silence our own needs, criticize our own emotions, or ignore the things we long for. The work begins inside. And from there, it radiates outward. So let's pause here for a moment. Take a breath. You've come this far in life, through joys and heartbreaks, through seasons of loss and laughter. You've done hard things. You've loved people through storms. And now, in this chapter, you're learning how to love more gently, more bravely, more openly. There's nothing soft or weak about creating emotional safety. In fact, it's one of the strongest, most generous things you can do. It asks you to lead with kindness, to listen with your heart, to show up even when you don't have the perfect words. And it's never too late to begin. Whether you're in a new relationship, a decades-long marriage, navigating friendships, or simply reconnecting with yourself, emotional space is a gift that keeps giving. It creates room for truth, for tenderness, for change. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see the people around you responding, softening, opening up in ways that feel real and lasting. So take those moments to pause. To listen without fixing. To speak with warmth. To set gentle boundaries. To repair when things break. And to show appreciation for the smallest acts of care. Because every time you do, you are planting seeds. Seeds of safety. Seeds of trust. Seeds of connection that can blossom at any age and any season of life. And maybe the most beautiful part? You don't have to be perfect to do any of this. You just have to be willing. Willing to try. Willing to learn. Willing to love, even if it feels a little awkward at first. That's all it takes. If this message touched something in you, if it reminded you of someone, or inspired you to try something different in your relationships, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or stories in the comments. Tell me what resonated. Tell me what you're still figuring out. We're all walking this path together. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people find their way to content that speaks to the heart. Remember, no matter how old you are, no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to become a safe place for love to grow. Here's to living with kindness, courage, and deep connection. Here's to living your best life at any age.